What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Real Red Politics video. Today I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel that is going to be titled, or that actually already is titled, What Are My Thoughts? This is in reference to different topics that I find interesting that I want to give my opinions and share my thoughts on. There may be some conservative bias here. I, I consider myself a conservative, so I'm going to be upfront with that right now. That way, some of you guys aren't surprised or like, you're sharing bias. Yeah, well, it's my thoughts, my opinions. You don't have to agree, but this is what I believe. And the first topic that we'll be discussing today are the presidents of the United States. And we're going to be going in order. And we're going to start with George Washington, but each president is going to get their own video. And I'm going to discuss how I think they did as a president and what, if I like them or not, essentially. And so starting with George Washington, one of the founding fathers, the best founding father in my opinion, also the best president in my opinion, did a lot of great things for the country. He was a very strong-willed, very strong leader. And he did a ton of great things for the country. He led the United States through the Revolution. He signed the George Washington, the best and my favorite founding father. And at the end of the Revolution, George Washington had the ability to seize the power that he had for himself and make a dictatorship, monarchy, etc., you name it. However, he did what I thought was extremely admirable to do, and he decided to make a constitutional republic. The United States is a constitutional republic. It is not a democracy like so many people claim it to be. They're two different things. It is a constitutional republic, and George Washington set that up and not made it, but essentially that way the federal government or one person wouldn't have all the power. And he was also very noted for being against the two-party system, especially due to being divisive and separating two groups of people, or separating people with different beliefs. He wanted people with different beliefs to come together, to be unified, to be able to work things out, with each other, and use your different stances to come up with a solution to problems. And unfortunately, we see that in government nowadays. That's not exactly how it works. People only vote with their party lines, and a lot of times it's a good thing, a lot of times it's not so much. And people don't seem to really come together as much anymore, is what I've noticed. Now, people give George Washington a lot of criticism because he did own slaves. Yes, he did own slaves, and slavery was an awful thing, one of the worst, if not the worst thing that the United States has ever really had in its country is slavery. It was one of the worst things ever, and it's really great that Abraham Lincoln's pretty much abolished slavery completely. But without George Washington, that wouldn't have been possible, because without George Washington, I don't believe there would have been a United States. And George Washington put in his will that after his wife died, he wanted all the slaves under him to be freed. And he put that in his will, I think, probably towards the end of the Revolution, because that's what he wanted. After his wife died, he wanted all the slaves under under George Washington, for lack of a better word, to be freed. And one of the things he was worried about was, because there were such two polar opposite ideologies, is that he didn't want the country to all of a sudden break down. He didn't want it to become destroyed. He didn't want it to, have what the United States worked so much for to be gone. And that was one thing he feared of. But towards the end of his life, he was noted for largely being against slavery, which is a very good thing. But he did so many other good things too. What are some of the other good things that he did? What are some other things I'm very fond about him? He signed the Judiciary Act of 1789, which made the Supreme Court, and it allotted 6 justices for the Supreme Court. Not too few, but not too many. There's less than there are more, which is a good thing. And And a big reason for that is that way that the judicial branch didn't have overwhelming power either. He wanted separation of powers, but he wanted equal power among each individual branch, as well as among the states. And I mean, he helped expand the United States by 5 states to, what we know on the East Coast. That was North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, and I guess more southeastern states, Kentucky and Tennessee. He helped expand those the country, those 5 states, which was, I think, the most up until Thomas Jefferson, where Thomas Jefferson had the Louisiana Purchase. But again, that's for another video. Today we're focused on George Washington, and overall he was a very intelligent person and very strong suited to run a country, basically. And keep in mind that, without him, he set the precedent for how a president should be, how there should be that term limit of 2 terms, and it was an unwritten rule because he left office after 2 terms, and most people up to FDR followed that. Actually, everyone up to FDR, as far as I'm aware, followed that. FDR broke the unwritten rule, and I think it's because of FDR that we now have term limits, like official set term limits. But again, FDR himself is also for another video. And overall, George Washington was an incredible president and leader of the free world. And when we can take a look at his strong military leadership that brought everything together, this is a famous picture of when he crossed the Delaware. And it's because of him that they won the Battle of Trenton. And that was such a pivotal moment that led to them winning the Revolutionary War. And winning the Revolution showed the people how strong of a leader he was. And that's what they wanted in their country, was a strong leader. And it was suggested to George Washington to be a king. But George Washington pretty much said, no. This will not be a monarchy. This will not be a dictatorship. And again, he didn't say that exactly, but you get the general idea. George Washington advocated and built not a representative democracy, he built a constitutional republic, again, to what we know as the United States. Without George Washington, there would be no United States, and I'm firm in that. I believe that, and I really, I firmly stand in that position that without George Washington, there would be no United States. And he had an influence on so many people to kind of want to follow in his footsteps of strong leadership and that kind of stuff. And overall, he was a very strong president, very good president, very overall well put together president, for lack of a better word. And in my opinion, my thought is he was and is still the best president that the United States has ever seen, especially because without George Washington, you wouldn't have amazing presidents today like Lincoln, in the sense that you probably wouldn't have the same system that we have today. Is it possible that there could have been another system under a different person in power if George Washington didn't have the power? It's possible in an alternate universe, but we'll never know, because George Washington is and was the first president. And it's because of his leadership building that constitutional republic that we have, that we've had amazing presidents in the past. Abraham Lincoln, hands down one of the best presidents as well. Again, he's for a separate video. But to kind of give you a quick recap, my thought is George Washington is the best president in American history, and definitely deserves a lot of credit, deserves a lot of respect, and is overall one of the great historical pieces that the United States has. And that's what I wanted to give my thoughts on today. And if you guys disagree with anything I said, let me know in the comment section below. But if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot. I would really appreciate it. And in the next video, we will be discussing my thoughts on John Adams, the second president of the United States. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. But if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot. I would really appreciate it. And in the next video, we will be discussing my thoughts on John Adams, the second president of the United States. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.